Senator Smith's question first. The Shaheen-Portman energy bill recently suffered a setback in the Senate. Would you have voted for it in the form in which it was presented? If so, why? And if not, what elements do you oppose, and what might you add, Senator Smith?
Well, no, I would not have voted for it. It's a typical example of an overreach of the federal government. It sounds good. We hear things like it promotes incentives, but there is taxpayer money being used here, $200 million at least in that bill. I haven't read the bill recently, but I know it was part of the debate on the pipeline, the Keystone pipeline, so I did pick up some of it when I was watching that. But there was $32 billion in incentives to reduce, to make companies and businesses and homes more energy efficient. $32 billion in the stimulus package. $32 billion. What about the private sector doing this kind of stuff? Look, I've learned one thing the hard way in politics. A program that starts on a voluntary basis suddenly becomes a mandate, and not too suddenly. It comes pretty darn quickly. It sounds good on all this stuff, but if you really look at this kind of stuff, and I don't know if it's in this one, but it was a similar bill where they would say, okay, if we would just put these energy incentives in the homes, when you buy a home, well, then we can let the person pay a little bit more because they can afford to pay it because they're not going to waste as much energy. So now we're going to put people in houses that they can't afford to pay for. I mean, look, if the air's coming through your window, close the window. You don't need the federal government to tell you to make your business more energy efficient. It's exactly what's wrong with this country. I'm telling you, I've seen these debates on this, and no disrespect to Mr. Rubens, he pleased what he pleased, but I don't know what he was in this issue, I take that back. But the point is, we cannot continue to pile on more and more regulation on every good sounding bill that comes down the pike. It's absolutely ridiculous. This is not the federal government's responsibility. It's the state and the businesses to do it. Bring the private sector in, compete, create energy efficiency. I don't know anybody that wants to spend more money on energy. I turn my heat down when I'm not using the business I'm in. So I mean, what the heck? That's the way it is. So we don't need a federal government program. It's costing millions of dollars in taxpayers' money. And I know it sounds good. Oh, energy efficiency bill sounds wonderful. They all sound good, but watch, read it, and find out what's in it. Unfortunately, Nancy Pelosi didn't believe in that.
Thank you, Senator. Same question to you, Senator Rubens.
We're in agreement on this. And this is one of a kind. Obamacare, 1,000 pages long, tens of thousands of pages of new regulation controlling the economy. Dodd-Frank, 30,000 pages of new regulation to control our financial sector. The Shaheen-Portman bill, again, it's the federal government making small business and our lives far more complicated than it can possibly be. Here are some things that are in the Shaheen-Portman bill. One of them is a voluntary building efficiency standard. $200 million to incentivize localities to adopt a voluntary energy code for buildings. Now, what happened with Common Core? How did Common Core get stuck into our state? Voluntary, yeah. Money sent back to states, you take the money, you're stuck with the Common Core. Same problem here at Shaheen-Portman. Another worker training program. We already have another feature of this bill. It has energy efficient programs for buildings. We already have 20 different energy programs, energy efficiency programs for building already in the federal government. This is yet another one. It has another big dollop of corporate welfare, corporate cronyism. It's advanced manufacturing provision where companies are given money, companies that can afford the $1,000 an hour lawyer to get to Washington and get the contract, can get money to make their factories more efficient. As Bob says, companies have their own internal incentive to make themselves efficient. They don't need to take my tax money to make themselves more incentive and to force more of our entrepreneurial energy away from customers and to focus on Washington. This is why the Washington campaign funding system is so darn busted, because so much power has been accreted in Washington over the years. And if we devolve some of these issues back to the states, back to the localities, back to the people, as the Constitution and the 10th Amendment specifies, we wouldn't have so many people proposing bills like this to fix our problems. We need to fix our problems with more freedom, more personal responsibility, more innovation, more private sector activity.
GrokTV.